Hello and welcome back to the Cod Cast, your official Fleetwood Town podcast hosted by me, Ben Natman. Today is episode 2. We are joined by head coach Charlie Adam. But first, a thank you to our sponsors. Elevate your business with CardSaver, your trusted partner for card payment solutions. From cutting-edge devices to custom options to fit your business needs, they've got you covered. Our business cash advance offers quick access to funds with no interest, just a simple fixed fee. From pay-as-you-earn, join businesses that use CardSaver for reliable payments and smart growth. Now, back to the pod. Hello and welcome back to the Cod Cast, your official Fleetwood Town podcast hosted by me, Ben Natman. Today is episode 2 and we are joined by the gaffer, Charlie Adam. Charlie, welcome to the Cod Cast.
Thank you for having me.
Very happy to have you on. So, first off, we're off the back of 2 great wins. This is being recorded before Sunday's game at Notts County. Great week, can't get much better.
Well, we've picked a good week, so I think our start was difficult, still is difficult in terms of what we've got, but delighted with the application and the quality of what the players have shown. It's been a tough pre-season for them, and they've responded really well, and ultimately winning football matches makes it a lot better.
So we'll take it back to the start then. Obviously, a lot of young man's dreams are to always play football to the highest level they can be. When did you start getting into football? Was it from a young age, or was it maybe later on when you were a kid?
I've been interested since I was 4 and 5 years of age. Do I remember that age? Probably not. It was only really when I was started 9 and 10, started to play for my boys' club team, and playing in a very good boys' club team. And then the older I got, and that's where I met Ross. Actually, we actually played in the same Sunday boys team together. So we've known each other for 30 years really, in terms of just going across. And then obviously as it got older, he went to Celtic, and I went to Rangers. But we've sort of always kept in touch and been spoken that. And that's how I first met him as a young lad, is playing Sunday League together.
Starting off at Rangers is the one of the biggest clubs in Europe, let's be honest about it. How was that? How did you find that? Because at a young age, some can find that daunting, but some can absolutely thrive on it.
Yeah, and I think I thrived on it. I was travelling at the age of probably 13, 3-4 days a week on my own from Dundee, where I was living. I was leaving school, going home, getting the bus, getting the train, and then I was getting the train to Glasgow on my own, finding my way from the Glasgow city centre out to Ibrox, coming back again, and then getting the train back. So I was getting back maybe 11:30 at night. So that was my journey for maybe 2 or 3 years on a regular basis, and that was the opportunity that I was given, and I'm gladly taking it, and obviously signed there full time when I was just short of my 16th birthday. I had a couple of decisions to make where I was going to go, but I felt it was right to go to Rangers. Big club, great history, and I was very fortunate enough to play there for a couple of seasons.
And then when you are playing, you're playing in front of big crowds, big expectations. They've won many pieces of silverware over the years that they've had. Did you find playing in front of that environment one that you can now relish in the rest of your career going forward as a player and a manager as well?
Yeah, I think that gives you the personality, because you need that at Rangers. You need a good personality. You need to be able to handle the pressure, and I've had that such a young age, and the standards that they set on a daily basis in the football club, from the top right through to academy players. So I've sort of tried to use that in my own footballing career, but also my coaching career as well. Standards are on a daily basis are good habits that live with you for a long time, and ultimately they're good habits then you take onto the pitch on a Saturday.
How are Champions League nights there, the special nights, at Ibrox? You were lucky enough to play in front of some great players, as you said recently, Lionel Messi being one. How did you find that? Because, he's gone on to have a good career, hasn't he?
Yeah, it was not bad. But I think for the Champions League nights become normal and natural, that, it's a big game. The biggest game in Rangers is Celtic. We know that. And if you can handle that atmosphere and that pressure, you can handle anything. And I was fortunate enough to play in a few of the Old Firm games. And I knew from a young age that beating Celtic being competitive is very, very important, and that stood me in good stead, wanting to win, that mentality. And I've tried to take that in my footballing career everywhere I went, that no matter which club I went to, I always tried to instill that, you know, we had a right good winning mentality within the group.
Well, when you're playing for Rangers, you say expectations are high and you relish on that. Playing for your country also is another massive pressure, because you're not just playing for yourself, then you're playing for millions of others, aren't you, at home, with expectations that they want to go and play all these tournaments. How did you find playing for Scotland?
I loved it. I was very fortunate enough to play at the younger age groups as well, and then getting obviously a call up to the national team was a real sense of pride. Probably one regret I have in my career would be that I never played enough for Scotland.
Yeah.
Down to different circumstances myself, managers, you know, players in their positions. That's the way it goes. But ultimately, I played 26 times, something I'm really proud of. You know, I am a proud Scotsman, and you know, living in England is something that, you know, you want to be. So seeing now the national team doing really well is very, very good, because we've had such a long time without that. So no, we're really positive. I think we've got a very good manager. We have a squad of players now. One or two are now starting to retire, which is understandable, because they want to prolong their club careers. But I believe that we've got some good players, and we've got good opportunities now to reach major tournaments on a regular basis.
So taking it back to Rangers, you spent a couple of years there. Then you did get a loan move to local neighbours Blackpool. You know, the first taste of the Fylde Coast. How did that come about? And was it a risk going to a club like Blackpool after being at Rangers, you know, one of the biggest clubs and playing on Champions League nights, to dropping down to, you know, Blackpool, you know, who were in the Championship at the time, still doing quite well, sustainable? Was it a risk?
I think every move's a risk, but fortunately for me, I'd already had 2 loan moves before that. I'd been to Ross County for 6 months. It never worked. Come back injured at 18. Then I went to St Mirren. We won the First Division, and we won the sort of cup there. We got promoted to the Premier League. So that gave me an insight to wanting to play regular. I had a couple of seasons then at Rangers under different managers, and Paul Le Guen, Walter Smith. But sometimes in your career you have to be quite selfish and think, I need to go and play regular. Did I expect I'd ever be in Blackpool and then never actually move away from here? No, it just happened so quickly. Listen, I was heartbroken to leave Rangers, because that's all I knew. I'd obviously known Glasgow, I knew Scotland. I felt that the Fylde Coast was a million miles away, but realistically it was only 3 hours away. But when I got here, I loved every moment, and that's why now I've stayed local for, you know, best part of 15 years, and ultimately that's why I've ended up marrying a local girl, having young kids here as well, and I just love living in the area.
And they always say, you know, everything happens for a reason, and that might have been that reason. You obviously have a great loan spell and then signed permanently. Was that ever a doubt for you that you wanted to stay here?
No, it wasn't, because I'd got a good bond with the club, the supporters, the players that were there. You know, we had a couple of Scottish players playing at the time as well, so it felt quite natural to come back here. And then ultimately, listen, as they say, the rest is history, and that's a big part of my career that I could never take away. And as a playing side, I was really proud to get to the Premier League, but it's it probably should never have happened in terms of budgets and how it worked. But again, when you get good people, a good culture within the group, and it's something we're trying to build here, and I think we're starting to get that. I see similarities in terms of the group that, you know, we're building here, and I think this could be a special group for this football club.
You mentioned previously in another interview about Blackpool signed players that were maybe not wanted elsewhere, maybe not loved elsewhere, and then Ian Holloway brought them in, galvanised you, won promotion. You obviously scored, you know, a great goal at Wembley. Is that something that you feel can happen here? Because Fleetwood Town are in League Two. We aren't blessed with the biggest of budgets, and we've kind of got to take players under our wing, give them a bit of love, polish them on, and then hopefully they can go and have good careers for themselves.
Well, I think ultimately, Ben, is that, you know, stripping back this football club, I think that we're very blessed that we've got fantastic owners, and obviously we've had tough 18 months, 2 years off the pitch. The family have invested a lot of money, obviously here in Poolfoot as well, as, you know, a big expense. The stadium, pitches, you know, we've had first-time managers and the big budgets. But listen, I think that this family have been incredible for this football club, going, past before me, but also I think now Jamie in charge is something exciting, young, fresh, new owner, and he's got the bit between his teeth, and he's excited, and it's great to be part of it. But no, I think there is something that could really be special happening here, and we want to be part of that.
You win promotion to the Premier League. Obviously, you played at the highest level in Scotland. You played in the Champions League. You're now going into the highest level in England, and one of the most decorated and probably the most popular leagues in the world, if not the most popular. Did you have to change your lifestyle? Was there any differences that you had to change from going from the Championship to the Premier League for that season?
No, I think we made mistakes as a team and a group, and probably, as Ollie would have said, that as a manager we attacked everybody. We never thought about defensive shape or anything like that, but we were a joy to watch at times. I mean, it was a real pleasure to play with these players. Some players that will remain friends for a long time, and that's because it was a special group. But you learn from that, and I've learned from that in my own coaching career. Such a short coaching career now, but we talk about defensive shape and organisation, and that's something I want to be, that you can win games with just your shape and your organisation, and it was a great time for me as a player, but also then it propelled me to being able to stay in the Premier League for a number of years after it.
After Blackpool, unfortunately for yourself, you get relegated, but then you go to Liverpool, who very much the same as Rangers, I'd say, as a club that are for the fans. The fans are the heartbeat of the football club. Was that the move for you that you thought at this time, it's a great move? Anfield, special place to play. You played with some great players there, like Jamie Carragher, Steven Gerrard, Luis Suarez were all there at the time. What was your thoughts going into that move?
Well, I had the opportunity to leave in the January window for the first year in there, and as a player, probably never handled it the way I should have handled it. I wanted to leave and hand the transfer request in, but ultimately it was a dream move. It's that's why you made that sacrifice to leave Rangers, such a big club, to possibly take a step back to then go forward again. And like you say about Liverpool, it's one of the biggest clubs in the world. The history, the great players over the years, the great managers. To play in front of the Kop was something that I felt I couldn't let go. And ultimately, as a player, you think you're one injury away from could be the end of your career. So it just felt it was the right thing for me to try and do. Unfortunately, it never happened, but they stuck to their word, Liverpool, and they come for me in the summer window, and I was really honoured and proud to sign there. And it was a special year for me to be able to play with some of the great players of Liverpool.
When you got to Liverpool, was there anything that you thought, wow, this is a different level, this? You mentioned going back to Rangers, and was that maybe you thought then at Rangers, you thought, some of the stuff I've done at Rangers can help me here.
Yeah.
But then when you go to Liverpool, you think, oh, I've maybe not done this before in my career at your loan spells.
Well, probably trained in front of 90,000 in Singapore or Asia at the time when we went on pre-season tour. That was probably an eye-opener for us, for me anyway, that this is a big club. We obviously went to stay there for a couple of weeks, and literally the fans were camped outside the hotel for 24 hours a day for 10 days, 2 weeks. And it was unbelievable, and you couldn't move anywhere. You go coffee, there was people chasing you down the street for autographs. It was just unbelievable. And then going and playing in the Premier League for Liverpool, going to Old Trafford as a Liverpool player, it was totally different from going as a Blackpool player. So yeah, I learned a lot. The mentality of the players was incredible, that every single day was an opportunity to get better. And unfortunately for me, it was only 1 year, but that was me thinking too far ahead of my own playing career, that I needed to leave to play games, and possibly if I was a wee bit more selfish, I probably should have stayed maybe for the extra year to see where it took me. But I would never regret that I moved from Liverpool to Stoke.
Yeah, and it turned out to be a great move for you. You played over 150 times for Stoke across 7 years as well, and you played with some great players as well. Talk about some of your experiences at Stoke, because Stoke got labelled this team that fought, that battled, that competed in the Premiership and got points where nobody might have expected them to.
Yeah, and that's ultimately that's the town, that's the hard-working, working-class people, how they've built up the tradition of the football club, you know, and that's what we try to bring here, because we want to mirror on the pitch what this town represents, and that's what we tried to do at Stoke. That was the characters we had. We had some flair players, and we had players that can win us games on their day, but the core of the team was sort of British-type players, hard-working, had quality, but, you know, gave their all for the team, and that's what that club bases itself on. And, you know, I loved my 7 years there. I thought it was an incredible time. You know, it's a great club to be part of, great owners that, you know, invest heavily in the club and want to build it to the best it can. Unfortunately, it gets relegated, and you know what it's like when you get relegated. It's hard to come back from that, and it's taken them a little bit of time to reset themselves and get organised again.
When you're at a club, sometimes you get a feel going, this is a right club for me at this right moment in time. And sometimes you go and you think, I'm not sure this is the greatest move. When you moved to Stoke, did you think I could spend a large portion of my career? Because 7 years of a player's career, you're looking at potentially 30-35% of your career.
No, I found it the first 6-7 months were difficult, because I had a lot of problems in terms of family issues. My dad passed away in that first sort of 3 or 4 months I'd been there. I never got in the team. The manager, you know, pulled me away from the team a little bit in terms of not playing. I never played regular. I never played for 3 or 4 months. So it was tough off the pitch mentally as well. So I had a lot of that to deal with. But once the manager changed, the new manager come in, it was different. You know, I had good people in there, good staff, and we signed some very good players that made it enjoyable to come in every day. And I think we had a 4 or 5 year period where we finished, you know, 3 top 10s in the Premier League, which is very tough to do. So yeah, no, it was a real good time in terms of after that sort of first year spell at Stoke.
Now, when you're at a club, you know, players are always trying to think far ahead, aren't they? Was coaching ever in your mind? Now, I know at Stoke you got labelled as parched, didn't you?
Yeah.
As Crouchy was saying, where, if you don't know, basically Charlie got named parched over basically always being in the manager's ear, chatting to the manager, maybe enjoying a drinks break or asking for a bit of advice. When you were doing that, did you know you were doing it, or was it always part of your plan going, I like that, how can I do it myself, or how can I adapt this?
Always thinking how can I change it? What would I do better? I'd always think about what we'd done in the day in the sessions, and ultimately just getting experience from, because I, you know, great coaches in terms of when I was at Stoke, who had a coach called Eddie Niedzwicki, Mark Bowen. Mark Hughes obviously was the manager. Damien Roden, who's a sort of say sports scientist sort of type of person, who I learnt a lot on these type of people, and let's say I did. Yeah, I asked the questions. I asked why we were doing it. I was always inquisitive to why we were getting better, and ultimately it comes round that the way we worked at Stoke in terms of the fitness work and the periodisation work that we do, I'm using it here. Yeah. So the experiences I had at Stoke has obviously taken me to then using it in my own coaching career now.
When would you say you started doing that? Maybe speaking to the manager, because maybe early in your career you want to be a lad, you want to be a footballer, a young footballer, live the dream. When did you start thinking, look, there's life after football. Football doesn't go on forever. Always
thought about coaching. I was always interested in what everybody was doing. I said it before recently with the local press that, you know, I'm not afraid to pick the phone up. I like to ask questions. I like to be inquisitive about how I improve as a manager. What I will say is I'm very lucky that I've got 2 fantastic coaches that I trust and that we work with, that we've got a good, open, honest relationship at times where we can, you know, have tough questions, have tough moments, but ultimately it's for the best of the team. And I think that's key to having a good management style, is that, you know, you have good people around you and supporting you.
What was the best bit of advice you took from being, you know, talking to the managers, maybe in the session? Was there anything that it could not even meet in a session? Maybe a quote you said.
Listen, when I was at Burnley, in about probably over 2 years ago, just when I started at Burnley, I sent an email to Sir Alex Ferguson, and he come back to me, and I went and had a coffee with him, and went to his office and had 2 hours with him in his office. speaking about everything, about management, about how you work, how you understand players. But he gave me the best advice that I think is, don't pick a fight with your players because they'll come to you. And ultimately, my door never stops, because what happens is you have 11 happy players on a Saturday, and you've got another 10, 11 players that are unhappy on a Monday, and they want to come and see you and why they're not playing, we're in squad. So I just think picking the brains of people like David Moyes, who have his brother sort of was my agent and still is my agent as a player and now as a coach, that I've been able to have that relationship and I've been able to pick the phone up to people like that is very, very helpful. But again, it's just learning from people that have got vast experiences in the game than I have, and I'm not afraid to use it.
You mentioned picking up the phone. Obviously, David Moyes won a European trophy like 18 months ago with West Ham. Out the game at the moment, but still a very decorated Premier League manager. Has there been anyone else other than those two that you've mentioned that you've maybe spoken to? Because you mentioned when you first came in.
Just not even that. People like Rob Edwards, Ian Evatt, people that I've played with but have got more coaching experience than me.
Yeah.
People that I've used on my coaching licence in the SFA. And ultimately, you have to make your own mistakes. You have to trust what you're doing is right. Have I made mistakes since I've come in the building? Absolutely I have. But what I will do is I'll learn from them, I'll make them, try and improve them. And I'm trying to make this football club improve on a daily basis. And it's a journey for us all. And we'll all make mistakes, but when we get the ones right, like I think we have in some of the times we've done, we'll enjoy it. And ultimately it comes down to winning football matches, and that's the most important thing.
Going back towards the end of your playing career then, obviously you go to Reading and then end at Dundee. Was there a moment that you twigged that I'm coming towards retirement here? And obviously everyone wants to end at the boyhood club. Everyone wants to end at a club that they love or they've been at previously. Was there a moment that you thought, this is where I want to end it and this is the time?
Yeah, I knew it was time. I was living in Glasgow. I wasn't enjoying living in Scotland. This is my home. I enjoy being at home. Kids and wife, they loved Glasgow, but at the end of the Dundee thing, I was a wee bit disappointed in terms of how it finished, because I was promised that I'd be getting offered a new contract, and that changed, which, that's football. I'm big enough and I'm brave enough and ugly enough to understand that and take it. But yeah, it was difficult to change a bit. After about 2 or 3 months, I was very lucky that Matt Williams, who I worked with at Blackpool, I was talking to him, and sort of a vacancy come up in the under-21s there, and he messaged me to say, listen, there's an opportunity here, why don't you come in and try and help with the coaches, get a bit of experience, and you never know where it could lead to. So I ended up in there for 3 months, just working away, helping everything, doing everything, and eventually they made a role for me in terms of having the loans manager, but also as well helping the 21s coaching. So I always knew that I wanted to get into the coaching. Management was something I was always interested in. And I had a great sort of apprenticeship for the 18 months I was there, and learning from, for me, I think, again, is a very, very good manager, Vincent Kompany. I learned a lot from him and his staff, and tried to implement that a little bit in terms of with the 21s. And, fortunate enough, I managed to get the call for this job as well.
When you're at Burnley, how do you find it? Because retiring from football can be very difficult mentally for a lot of footballers, because they feel, well, that's it. You've been straight into another job, which always helps. Was there any mental sides that you were missing of, maybe even like being in and around the dressing room?
No, because it happened quickly for me. I'd had a holiday, and then I'd come straight in after the pre-season, so when I was there, I was still trying to stay fit to try and play again, and it would just nothing really materialised that I felt was right. I had the opportunity to go abroad and, go to Waterford. Andy asked me to go to Waterford, but for a family decision, it wasn't right for me to be travelling like that. So, again, the day came that I knew it was the right time to retire, and I'm at peace with that. I knew it was the right time. Do I regret retiring? No, absolutely not. I think I'm in a good place. And I just knew it was the right time. And I think if you know it's the right time and you're not chasing that goal still again. I think I think it makes it a lot easier, and I've very fortunate enough it's become easier for me to retire early.
So you're at Burnley, and then Fleetwood Town ring you. How does that come about? Because Fleetwood Town went through 3 managers last year, which is crazy by any standards.
Yeah.
We depart Lee Johnson, and the day after you're in. Was that a call maybe you got a few days before, or was it straight away after the game? Look, do you think you can come in now?
Well, fortunately for me, I'd known the football club for a long time. I'd known the owner, I knew Steve, I knew Will, I knew Jamie, the key decision makers within the football club. But if I could pick my first job, this would have been my first job, because it has everything to be successful. Good people, good staff, good facilities, and I was very fortunate enough to get a position. But no, I knew nothing until I think it was Bolton at home. Was it Bolton at home?
Yeah, we lost 2-0.
So it was a Bolton at home. Probably I got
Friday
a call 11 o'clock at night to say that, you know, what would the interest be? And I just said, listen, Lee's still in the job. We have to make a decision. You have to make a decision that, you know, it's important that we get this right. And you know, that was it. And then the next day, I wake up at 9 o'clock to a text message knowing that, you know, Lee had gone. And I went to meet Steve quite quickly after that. And as soon as we sat in front of each other, I knew it was the right thing to do. The biggest thing was trying to plan the group, the get my coaching staff in, which I'd already organised before that, because I felt that jobs were coming up that I felt that I was going to maybe be ready for, and they were ready to come in if needed to be.
Although you knew people around the football club, was it a risk taking this job? Because you look at it, you walked in 23rd in the table, 5 points adrift, players that didn't want to be at the football club, and, you know, that's a fact. We'd only won 4 games out of the 23 games. Like the relegation on the cards and the ownership issues, now sorted, thankfully. Was it a risk in your mind? Because the first job is vital, it's the right one, because you might not get another.
Every job's a risk. Every move's a risk. I think if you go and you have a belief that what you're trying to do is right, and I think we managed to sort the dressing room, which was a problem. And, you know, people leave the building, which is natural. We were finished, I think we were 12 points behind when we come in. Slowly, we took 5 or 6 weeks to really get to understand the group and the players, changing players' position. Brendan's playing midfield, I put him to the back. Boston Lawal was playing at the back, I brought him to midfield. And it's just getting to understand in a relationship, because ultimately they'd seen 2 managers. So we were probably inheriting 2 manager squads, really, which is tough. So we had to calm the place down, and slowly we started to get results. Yeah, we were a wee bit defensive, and we were solid, but we drew far too many games that we probably could have won. But again, that's probably a little bit of fear from everybody in terms of the fear of relegation. But in hindsight now, I think being able to strip it back, I think this has allowed us to be a better club now to move forward for the relegation.
I agree there, because I say a lot of shows that sometimes relegation, it is hard. It's, you know, it costs clubs millions and millions of pounds, and it can hurt supporters and people, the jobs, unfortunately. But in the long run, sometimes it can reset as a club. Now, my view from the stand was always that, you know, Boston did have this ability to play midfield. He played there in his youth academy for Celtic a little bit as well. And Brendan played a little bit at the back under Scott Brown the previous season, and they both did very well there. And Boston, on his debut, made a bit of a mistake. He drove out with the ball, but playing centre half. Was that something that you saw in both of them, that they can both play in those positions? Because that seemed to change the whole dynamic of the team.
Well, what was easy for us is that he's very athletic. We're talking about Boston on his own at the moment. Very athletic, powerful, strong. And we needed somebody in there that could be that sort of powerhouse in the midfield. And he was natural there. I'd actually seen him with Ross probably about 4 or 5 months before it, playing for Celtic against Blackburn at the Lancashire FA. And he was actually playing centre-back, and I could see that he was bigger, stronger, quicker than everybody at that level. And I kept an eye on him, understand where he was at. And then when I seen him coming here, I thought, That's a very good signing. And ultimately, as a manager, you get things right, you get things wrong. Nothing's wrong with playing Brendan in midfield or playing him at the back now. Is there times where Brendan actually might go and step back into midfield? We might have to at some point. But I think for Brendan, that for his development, his coaching, playing at the back, he sees everything. He can step, very athletic, strong, powerful. And his performances probably since we've come and given him the armband has been very, very good.
On Boston, got a great move to Stoke. You were there for 7 years. Did you have a word with him about that and maybe give Stoke a good reference saying, look, I had 7 great years there. I had, one of the best parts of my career there. Did you give him a little bit of advice? It's a good club for you right now.
Yeah. He phoned me up on the way, driving down to sign for them. I had a missed call when I come in from training. And I just think it's the right place for him to go and play. I said to him that, these supporters are demanding and they'll expect a lot from you. But if you go and show what you're capable of, especially the playing midfield and his determination, his drive, his commitment is very, very good. And I think he can be, a very, very good player for Stoke. I think they've got some good business there, and delighted for them because, one of the nicest kids you'll meet as well. Really humble, wants to learn, wants to get better, and I think under Stephen, I think he'll improve as a player, and hopefully he does really well.
Unfortunately, last year we get relegated, and you lose your first 4. But after those, you'd be able to get the players out the door that didn't want to be here, and the players you brought in on loan as a quick fix to get us through to the end of the season. We won 3 of the last 4. Great way to finish. Unfortunately, not 4 out of 4, but 3 still a decent amount. Preseason is on the agenda straight from the final game against Burton. From that moment, what do you give the players? Do you give them a specific plan to go and follow? Do you give them, a little bit of advice? Go and do this and go and do this and see you on this day.
Yeah, so we obviously had finished it. We had meetings after. Every single player knew what we were expecting from them for next season. People were told that they could move on, find new clubs during the summer, give you time, and ultimately that was important that they can go away and knowing what the future was. Players obviously we wanted to keep, so and that's natural that people want to play at higher level because they've done okay and bids start coming for them. But every player knew when they left this building on, I think it was the 29th or 30th of April, what was happening pre-season. If you come back pre-season, then your attitude has to be spot on. If not, then it's going to be a difficult summer for you. But to be fair, we got a lot of the players that we wanted out, and ultimately 1 or 2 come back for the pre-season. Started the pre-season well, but again, started to get back into bad habits. So we moved them on again, and we're lucky we managed to get them out. And this group and this culture of this group is really improving on a daily basis.
We did stay at home this summer. Obviously, I get that costs have to be made. We've got pull foot, which we're very lucky to have. Was there a reason that we kind of based ourselves just at pull foot, this time around?
It's a financial decision. It's ultimately as a football club you have to cut costs. We got relegated, and that's that comes from the owner, that comes from CEO, and naturally that's it. But it's not like we're turning up to porta cabins and no food or anything like that every day. We come to a brilliant facility with great people. So we look at this as that it's a real privilege to come here every day. But we've tried to do different things. So we went to St Mirren for a weekend and we stayed over there, took the lads for dinner, had a night out together, brought the team spirit and the bond, and they had a great night. But small things like that, try and do little things during the season as we can, as family, as a group. I'm very big family in terms of the club and the whole culture of the group being together. So no, that's important. So over the season we'll do different things away from the training ground just to keep that spirit and that team bonding together.
The style of play has been mentioned, and 2 games, 2 wins so far. Hopefully make that 3 come Sunday, and next time we're here we can speak about that. Starting playing out from the back, players feeling comfortable on the ball, and I'm sure that you want players just to want to feel comfortable on the ball, because if they do that, we're ready to go. The high press as well, the high energy, get at teams, and the 3-5-2. What was the key reasoning behind that system?
Well, it's something we've just stuck from last season because when I first came in, I've always known 4-3-3. It was something at Burnley I knew, and I'd played in 4-3-3. I always felt it was right, and we got very, very well beaten against Shrewsbury in the first game. And coming back on the bus as a staff, we decided 3-4-3, 3-5-2 will probably suit this group of players. We stuck to it during that season, and we done okay. But we recruited for 3-5-2 and 3-4-3 this year. We might go to 4 at some point. I'd be very, very surprised too, but they're the sort of two formations I think that can cause teams a lot of problems. But again, we need to bring athletic, strong runners in the building, and people that wanted to make an impact in this football club, and that's what we've tried to do. That's why we've taken our time in the signings. It took us 2 or 3 weeks to get the ones over the line. And again, we're still looking in the market now for players in the next couple of weeks as well. But that's sort of the two formations we're looking at, and I think it can cause teams a lot of problems going forward.
Mark Helm, Mackenzie Hunt, Matty Virtue, just 3 of the 7 that have come in that have looked quite impressive so far. You often mention about bringing the right ones in, and you often, ring a player, or you're on holiday and you've met players in the past as well, this summer as well. What do you look for in a player? Is it something about the demeanour, how they sit up when they talk to you? Do they give you eye contact, other than on a pitch on a Saturday?
Yeah, I think learning this job is that one Zoom I had with a player, and we went on a Zoom with a player, and he was laid back in the chair, arm above his head, and just didn't want to be interested in what we were doing. And I was like, so it's important that you have Zoom calls. But I'd like to meet players face to face if I can. So a lot of the players that we've had, we've been able to meet them face to face, have Zooms, getting a feel for them as personal. But again, speaking to people that have worked with them, and doing your work, character references and things like that really, really helps. And we feel that we've brought the right characters to the building. Mark Helm's somebody that I've worked with before at Burnley, so he knows how I work. I know how he works, the quality he brings. Very surprised we've been able to get him from Burton. I think he's a League One player. Again, James Bolton is something that 1 or 2 of the lads have played with. I had good character references from him, speaking to previous managers about who he worked with. And again, it's just head of recruitment, Joe Riley's, he brought up Mackenzie Hunt to me. He said, he was 22, not had any first team experience, but he'd been playing for Everton 21s, but also been training with the first team for the last year. So his pedigree and his technical ability was very, very good. So, yeah, listen, we're not going to get everyone right. I've not got every signing right since I've come in, but what I will say is that I think that we've done some really good business this summer, and we'll look to keep improving the team in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. 9 of the 11 that did start on Saturday were 24 years age or younger as well. Danny Mayer, 33, Ronnie Coughlin, 28. So had a bit of experience to that. Obviously, keeping players at the football club is vital.
Yep.
Brendan Wiredu is your captain. There's 2 weeks left of the window. I've got to ask it, are you confident that he'll stay at the football club?
Yes. I had a chat with him the other day, and I understand where he's at. He knows what I feel about him, but his head is here. He knows his heart is here. He wants to stay, which is important. But there's still 2 weeks to go, and that's me not saying that ultimately if we got ridiculous money for him, as a football club we have to look at it.
Yeah.
I cannot hide away from that. But Brendan's told me he would love to stay here to improve. He thinks this is the best place for him to improve and get better, which is a real bonus for us, because it's been tough. Because your captain, what's his thoughts? Where are we going? For him to pick the phone up to me and say, "Listen, I want to stay. I feel part of it. This is a special football club for him, but for us." And let's say that gives us a wee bit of confidence that we'll be able to keep him. But the market's the market. Still 2 weeks to go, and somebody with deep pockets might come from, but ultimately that will become a financial decision for the football club. But at the moment, he wants to stay, and he's told me that.
My view from the stands is that Brendan Wiredu is our captain, he's our leader, and if you look on social media after every game, other players get credit, and deservedly so. A lot of the love is aimed at Brendan Wiredu, and for me as a player, there must be no better feeling than that, feeling loved, feeling a part of, and feeling wanted by yourself and the fans as well. So for me, I'm in agreement. I think that for now, this is the right football club for him to be
Yeah,
at.
no, absolutely. And again, he feels safe here and he feels secure and he feels he can learn. He's still got a lot to develop in it, and I appreciate, we gave him an opportunity. But again, it's the same with, the other lads. Omacheri, for example, we brought in from Ireland and we sold him for good profit. That's the model of this football club. Is we can't just keep going to the owner and saying we need this, we want that. We have to trade the players. But we are a business, but it will have to be deep pockets. If whoever it is for Brendan, it'll be deep pockets. But at the moment, he's here, and we have to enjoy these type of players. And he gets a lot of the accolations and that, because thoroughly deserved. He's been magnificent for us. But again, there's one or two now will start to creep up there and perform on a daily basis and a weekly basis. And the most important thing is the team winning. And I think if the team wins, then everybody else is happy.
And I think he's played every minute under you since you've been in the building as well, which, if you're playing games of football you're loved, you're going to be playing, there's no better place to be. 7 editions, still time in the window. Are you confident that we can maybe add to that?
Yes. I was just, before I come on here, on a call to a player to try and make something happen, speaking to parents, making sure it's the right move. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks we will have maybe 1 or 2 pieces of business done. And we'll go into September with a good squad strength, depth, and also as well some young players in the squad that we feel that are capable of stepping up if needed to do, which is important. Naturally, people will want to leave the building because they want game time.
Yeah,
that will happen probably in the next 2 weeks as well. But the most important thing is just focusing on everybody that's here and the people that want to be here moving forward. And I'm just excited. I wake up every morning buzzing to get into my work, to get into this place, because I want to repay this football club for giving me the opportunity.
You look at the squad, it's a very talented squad. It's smaller on numbers, but you've always said quality rather than the quantity, which I think in previous years this football club have signed players for the sake of signing players to add depth. Do you think this squad, and I know you're very much one game at a time, which I'm in agreement with, do you think this squad has enough in it to really challenge at the top end?
Absolutely. Or I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't. It'd been easy to say to the club, like, what's the ambition of the football club? The ambition of the football club is to be successful. We need sporting success, and that's by winning football matches. But we just try to win the next game, and we'll see what the long-term future is. But this club want to be near the top of League Two. They want to improve. They want to get better. We want to bring better players in. That's part of it as well. Sporting success is massive. The previous owner, the new owner, they want to win, and hopefully we can do that. And the first couple of games of the season went well, but we want to keep improving and getting better on a weekly basis.
A couple of final things. Well, I'm going to throw some quick fire questions at you for the fans that might not know about you. Who would you say the best player you've played with?
I think 2. I'd probably say Steven Gerrard and Luis Suarez.
Who is the most famous person in your phone book? Can't say me.
Steven Gerrard or David Moyes.
Win as a player or win as a manager?
Or win as a player. Win as a manager, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, win as a manager, yeah.
Because it's more for the whole of everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's your favourite sport, but you can't say football?
Golf.
Golf. Good?
Okay.
What would you say, as a player, was your favourite cheat meal after a game?
I like Indian.
What's your go-to?
Chicken dinner.
Joe Fraser for me. Who would you say the best manager you've played under? And that doesn't have to be tactically, it can be, arm around the shoulders around man management.
Best manager, probably the most high-profile one would probably be Kenny Dalglish, but I love working under Mark Hughes.
Yeah. Who would you say the funniest player in our dressing room is?
Danny Mayer.
That surprises me, that.
He's blunt.
Yeah. If you wasn't a footballer, what would you be?
Greenkeeper. That's what I always wanted to be, a greenkeeper.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, initiation, karaoke song of choice?
Dignity by Deacon Blue.
Have we had any good karaoke songs initiations from the new lads yet, or?
The lads are rubbish, but one of my members of staff, Brad Steedman, who's coming as physio from Burnley, is very, very good.
What was his go-to?
Can't remember what it was. It was only a couple of weeks ago. It was in Scotland actually, but he was very good, and the lads were buzzing off it.
It's always important. And finally, Charlie, if you had to give a message to the supporters, because we've got 45 games in the league to go, we've got some cup games coming up as well. How important are the fans going to be this season?
Listen, the supporters are amazing. They have been, even the short period I've been here. Stick with the team. It's going to be a roller coaster. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but don't desert them. Be with them through the good times, the bad times, and we will bring back the good times at this football club.
Charlie, thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully 3 points come Sunday.
Thank you.